and folks can catch up when they hop on.
All right, very good. So to everyone, welcome to the Thursday, July 21st meeting of Las Vegas Valley chapter of PRSA. I'm Dan McFadden. I'm a vice president of programs and APR chair as well. Welcome you today, covering on behalf of our chapter leadership. Amy could not lead today. She had another commitment, unfortunately. So you're stuck with me. So here you go. Anyway, throughout your program, just a few housekeeping notes. Please keep your microphone and camera muted or turned off so it doesn't distract from the program. So Allison, Mallory, you're doing great. Please enter your questions in the Q&A box. So really encourage you to please ask questions. You know, there are going to be things. I mean, Lisa and Colleen have produced this program and have done countless entries over the years, but there's always going to be something out there. This is your chance. Please take advantage of them. They're the gurus and founders of the program. So we're just delighted. So have them. So just a quick few announcements. Job board. Don't forget, PRSA Las Vegas Valley does have a job board on the website. If you're hiring, please consider posting your position on the job board. You can find the job board on the website itself at prsalasvegas.com. Self-promotion here, APR applications. If anyone is interested in pursuing achieving their accreditation, APR Ready to Roll program is starting up its fall class. Applications are due August 10th, and you can get additional information on the homepage of prsalasvegas.com. Pinnacle Awards. Sounds like a familiar subject of what we're about to get into today. This is the 25th annual Pinnacle Awards program. Early bird deadline is August 13th. August 13th. So be sure you've got a tickler on your calendar for that. You can submit your best work and get rewarded and get recognized. Please visit our special website, which is pinnacleawards.com. For complete information, all the categories, everything you need to know, how to submit your award nominations. So, entries rather. PRSA Western District, Las Vegas Valley chapter is hosting. I think everybody is aware of that. We're very excited about hosting the Western District Conference this fall, September 26th through 28th. Just around the corner. Registration is now open. Early bird registration ends soon. So please be sure to go to prsaWesternDistrict.org for more information. And with that, we are going to move into our program. Program title is, drum roll please, How to Write a Pinnacle Award. A little bit about our guest speakers to my left and to my right. To my left is Colleen Curran, APR, co-founder of the Pinnacle Awards. To my right is Lisa Story, APR, also co-founder of the Pinnacle Awards. And again, Colleen and Lisa, thank you so much for your time today and presenting. Super excited also the fact that we'll have this recorded for folks who cannot attend today. They'll be able to watch it later. A little background here. Colleen is the Senior Public Information Coordinator at Las Vegas Valley Water District. Lisa is the Communications Services Manager at Southern Nevada Water Authority, Las Vegas Valley Water District. Together, these two incredible women founded the Pinnacle Awards. So if anybody knows that upside down, and we're just really delighted and honored to have you here today. I'll monitor Q&A at the end. And with that, welcome Lisa and Colleen. So take it away.
Thank you. So you can go ahead and type questions. Colleen's going to kind of I agreed to do the initial talking and she'll monitor the questions and then we'll both answer them, but she's really good too on the fly. I also want to add that the Pinnacle Awards were also founded by Don Merritt. So the three of us, the Three Musketeers, started it. And what I wanted to bring up is the reason we started the Pinnacle Awards, where there were several awards at the time in town. A couple of them have since gone away, but they really focused on rewarding pretty work, but not necessarily work that influenced behavior or changed opinion or along that line. And that's what we really wanted to focus on with the Pinnacle Awards. So let me see if I can go ahead and share my screen. Here we go. So what we're talking about is getting the awards that your work deserves. And let's see if I can get this to go. Here we go. So again, we really wanted to recognize outstanding public relations work. And also by entering the Pinnacle Awards, you're helping prepare for the regional and national competitions. A lot of the criteria is modeled after if you entered the bronze or silver anvils. And we also wanted to really focus not just on creativity, but the achievement that the work gets. So the secrets to winning is, first of all, you have to have a good entry, right? You have to have a tactic or a campaign, a program that was well done. But you also, just as important, have to have a well-crafted entry. And what makes a great entry? Well, you tell a good story, you're succinct, but you also get all of the pertinent information out in the 2 pages entry summary, right? The 2-page entry summary, that's really important. You have to show strategic initiatives and strategic thought in how you put this together. And then really, when you write your objectives in particular, but the entry as a whole, make sure you're following the 4-step public relations process and you're using SMART objectives. And we'll go through those in a couple minutes. But your objectives and your results really need to be measurable and show that something changed or something was achieved other than the fact that you ticked off some things on a checklist. You didn't just send out 5 news releases, right? You actually influenced behavior or achieved certain results. So for your entry summary, some of the most important parts of that is making sure that you're telling a compelling story, you're addressing the business challenge that you were approaching with the campaign or with the tactic, that you also follow the guidelines on the website carefully, that you look at the how to prepare an entry and you follow all of those main points, because that's what the judges are going to be looking at as well. They're from out of state and they're going to be looking at that to see if you hit the major points, in addition to just answering the questions and the judging categories that they have. And then make sure that for a campaign, you don't really need this for a tactic, but you have the supporting detail campaign to include. I went ahead and asked a number of people, APRs in town, who judge on a regular basis, other chapters work, obviously, but also enter our Pinnacle Awards. And I asked for some tips. So throughout this, I've dropped in some of their tips. So for the entry summary, some of the judges' tips were spend 90% of your time on the entry summary. The judges review a lot of entries and they have a limited time to do it. I mean, when I'm asked to judge in other chapters, I'm given anywhere from 30 to 50 entries and like a week to do that, in addition to getting, my job done and those important things. So just keep in mind that when a judge is looking at your tactic entry, they probably are spending about 10 or 15 minutes on it. And before they look at the actual brochure or newsletter or video, they're going to read the entry summary and they're going to be looking for some specific information, which we'll go through in a minute. For a campaign, they're really only spending 15 to 30 minutes on it. They're not going to go through every survey and read every page. They're going to really base their opinion on the entry summary and then check the information as supporting to verify information and, to get a broader sense of the entry. So most of their time is reading this entry summary. They're looking for key information, and the entry itself should really feature information and examples that support the summary. You don't want to bury your best work or your best information under pages and pages and pages of reports and statistics. Colleen, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, so you will be getting into this in just a second, but again, just to reiterate what you said, Lisa, the entry summary contains the high-level information about how opinions or behavior changed. The entry itself contains the backup information. So the summary gives the judges what they need to know. That the rest of the entry contains the backup information, and then judges will go through that as much as they possibly can given the time they have to judge multiple entries.
Yep, thank you. So just keep in mind with the summary, the judges are going to reference the website, so you should too. Your background situation statement should be fairly brief, but you really need to address the 4-step public relations process: research, planning, implementation, and evaluation. And there is a link on the how to prepare your entry page to that information and some more details. And make sure you go to that prepare your entry webpage. I threw in some animation here once in a while, and I hope I remember what slides those are on. Anyway, another tip is develop entry with as much professionalism as you would if you were going to present this to senior management or to a new client if you work for an agency. You know, again, prepare your entry webpage is really helpful and thorough, and make sure you follow those main elements. Don't miss a single requirement because you're going to give up important points. I have seen when Colleen and I go through the judging scores, we'll see somebody had almost perfect marks, then they'll get a 0 in one area, and it'll just drop them down from sometimes a pinnacle to a merit or a pinnacle to an award of excellence. And you don't want to give up points just because you missed something that is really outlined on the how to prepare your entry. When you are writing your summary, it's very challenging because there's a lot of information to include, but you really need to find a way to be succinct and hit the highlights, and make sure you read and edit your summary several times. Sometimes there might be appropriate time to use bullet points. The background information, definitely be brief, but paint a picture of what your organization was up against. What was the challenge? The economy, crisis, COVID, whatever it was, and then frame your result. Give a high-level overview of how you rose to and overcame that challenge. Anything else there, Colleen, you want to add?
No, but I think what you're going to do, what you're going to illustrate in a second, is that there's a clear line from research to evaluation, where you can basically copy what you put in the research into your evaluation section, which makes it easier to make sure those two things correlate.
Yes, yeah. Thanks for the prelude. That's probably one of the most important things I'm going to say today, right? But your entry must include some type of research. It has to, because in the public relations field, we don't just come up with like, I'm going to go do an event, or I'm just going to go send out a newsletter. There is a reason behind everything that we do, right? So the research helps define what the problem was, who the publics were, what your messages were, and basically why you did what you did. And as the judges have noted, there's a lot of different forms of research, right? There's primary, secondary, formal, informal, qualitative, quantitative, scientific, unscientific. So that includes everything from client interviews. If you're working for an agency and you don't have access to the company that you were representing, all of their research, if they didn't provide that to you, you were still interviewing them about what they needed and why they wanted this campaign done. What were they trying to achieve? That's some of your research, right? past media coverage, looking at industry trends, your pre and post campaign surveys that might have been done, call center traffic or call center data. If you work for a company that has a call center, focus groups, even electronic stats from the website, social media, newsletters. There are a lot of different things that you can pull together. It doesn't have to always be formal. It can be informal, but you have to communicate to the judges that you didn't just pull this idea out of the air and wake up one day and say, I'm going to do this project. There was a reason you did it, and there was something you were trying to achieve.
And Lisa, what do we not say to the judges in our research section?
Don't ask me, I'm just the graphic artist, or don't ask me, I'm just at the ad agency. Was that what you were looking for?
Yeah, we have had entries, we have judged entries that said that, and it did not fly, so.
It doesn't, and honestly, if you say something like that in your entry, the judges will almost automatically be like, oh, this person's getting close to a 0. I mean, it's definitely not a good idea to do that. You will not go far. In your planning, in the planning section, make sure that you're defining measurable. Do you have a question?
Yeah, sorry, one just popped up. So before we move to planning, can I read this to you?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Okay, so the question is, recognizing judges have limited time to review entries, how important is it to share your work, your research for frame of reference, something they can glance over to support your narrative?
So I would say, in reality, so it used to be that before electronic entries, we would all get together and judge. They were this big, these notebooks, right? And so you would read the summary, and then you would just go and you would read pages and pages of under the research section, which was, sectioned off. You read the whole report. We don't do that anymore. And I think realistically, you can provide, for example, a 50-page survey results in your backup, but they're not going to read it. I'm being honest with you. So what I would do is, if you have a survey, you can include in the backup for research the executive summary, because that probably explains what you're saying in your entry summary, in the summary, which is even more succinct because you only have about a quarter of a page to say it. What do you think, Colleen?
You know what? I was just going to kind of give a slightly different viewpoint on that. If you have that 50-page survey, go ahead and throw it in. Just include it in your entry, maybe just a little further in the back. So you could put a little bit of an executive summary and say, see page 130 for the entire survey results, if you want to. I guess I'm trying to find a happy medium in there, because as a judge, I do appreciate people who provide the whole survey result report to me, because I can kind of just flip through it very quickly and satisfy myself that it actually does reflect what is said in the entry. In other words, that it does back up the assertions that are made in the entry.
And that's a good point. And also what I would say is, it shows you too that each judge or the judges have different perspectives and different needs to check information. So it doesn't hurt to include that, and certainly you're encouraged to do it. Just make sure that it's, like Colleen said, reference this page or that type of thing. Your entry summary itself has to be succinct, and it's only 2 pages. So I'm gonna go with that. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I think we've got a remark that said it's very helpful, and do we provide a PDF or a link? They kind of got that from our discussion. So I think that's great. Good to know. We can move on to planning now.
I would suggest, and I have a little slide in here about technology, but just so I don't forget to address it, I would say that when you're uploading, I believe how it's done is you have different materials. So you can have a PDF that combines all, I would do one PDF for research, like in one for planning and one as your support material, have your entry summary, and then in your PDF have active links or refer to things, but have it all combined into one so that the judge can open that one document just for research, look at everything, skim through it, and then maybe on the first page, you can have the links if you want it, but also have the hard copy, because in today's day and age with technology, there are always glitches. And so I would make it as easy as possible or do both, like include the link and the PDF, just because of how technology works right now, or doesn't work sometimes. So with planning, I think this is really an important component, is making sure you have quantifiable, measurable objectives. And that is probably one of the most important things that you can do as well with your entry summary. But you want to show relevance to the research, define your strategies and tactics, identify your audiences, and then share some type of budget. You do not have to include all kinds of bottom line numbers. It can be high level, but it could also be more of like how much staff time was spent on this, but you have to include some type of budget so that they can judge entry from that perspective as well. So one of the judges' tips on objectives is make sure the entry summary uses a SMART model to craft your objectives. And use the Prepare Your Entry webpage with the 4-step public relations process. If you click on that link, it will help you also identify those SMART objectives. But you want to make sure your objectives define a behavior or attitude change for specific audiences, how much you're looking to achieve, and a time frame to do it. And that kind of goes to the SMART objectives. So they're very specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound. You know, you're going to state what you're going to do, provide a way to evaluate it. It's measurable within your scope that you can achieve it, why it makes sense to your job function or to the project, and then when it'll get done, like what's the time frame. So with the judges, some more tips. They talk about make sure your objectives include a target audience, desired action and behavior you're trying to achieve, your level of attainment, the deadline by which you were going to do it. And then because you're telling the judges what success looks like, right? It's not just, we did an event on this date. You did an event to achieve certain things. So you want to make sure the judges know how to judge your success of your program. So an example of some objectives is to increase ridership of public transportation in the county metropolitan area by 8% among workers earning less than $25,000 a year within the first 6 months of the program. Or another example is to increase customer use of the website text-based chatbot by 25% by the end of the third quarter. So you can see we have very specific achievements here. And then to ensure 100% of PRSA members are still awake at this point of our presentation. So hopefully you guys are all still awake. You can wave at us. All right. So another trick, and Colleen alluded to this earlier, is if you have well-crafted objectives, you literally can cut and paste those into your evaluation section and just modify them and be done with it. I mean, and have a very successful entry. And it sounds crazy, but it's true. And I'm going to talk about that more later. Oh, I had a little animation there. All right. So in the planning section, here's some common what not to do. And Colleen can jump into if she recalls anything. But common errors are that your objectives are not quantifiable, that there's no connection between the research, the situation analysis, the objectives. There's no clear picture of what your strategy was, or that you were strategic at all. And let's face it, in PR, we are very strategic. And there was no... Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. If I may just break in here for 1 second. Here is not a quantifiable objective. Raise awareness. Raise awareness by itself is not a quantifiable objective. And if you say that your objective is to raise awareness, and then at the end of your entry, in your results, you show that you had a news story picked up by 15 outlets, I am not going to give you a high score for that, because nothing about that is measurable. What happened as a result of that news coverage? Did you have more visits to the website? Did you have did you exceed your objective to have somebody attend your event or whatever? So please do not include raise awareness as any of your primary objectives.
Thank you. Important point. And that's kind of where increase, very, very intuitive, because this is what we're talking about. An objective stated like increase awareness among customers of this product, or send 5 news releases, or make the CEO and shareholders happy, make the client happy. Those are not measurable objectives, right? Get 5 local and 2 national news stories placed about this product. Those are not what the judges are going to look for as measurable objectives. It's really showing those actionable results. When you go into the implementation phase of your summary, make sure that you summarize the plan, you show your strategies and tactics work together, and you highlight creativity. Explain exactly what you did. And there might have been, you may not want to include a laundry list. So make sure you hit the high points. If you did a whole number of things on your program, your campaign, make sure that you're hitting the highlights, and you're really also identifying those areas that were very unique. So some of the judges' tips that I received on the implementation was, make sure you organize the information according to timing, program phases, or audience. Make your tactics sound smart. They were done for a reason and to get to a specific result. And don't provide a laundry list of tactics. Anything to add, Colleen, or any questions we have?
No, but if anyone wants to put something into chat, I want to make sure everybody understands the difference between a goal or an objective, a strategy, and a tactic. So if you're not quite clear on that, go ahead and ping us in the chat, and we can review that after Lisa gets finished talking about evaluation.
And also, if you really want, the Pinnacle Awards website, that prepare your entry page, links to a PDF that has some of those definitions and examples. So you can refer to it when you're doing your entry. And honestly, I've been doing this for 25 years, and I pull that up and use it every time I do an entry. Just to make sure, because some of them, goals and objectives, strategies and tactics easily can get confused. And I just want to make sure that I'm being more clear in how the judges are going to also look at that information. So for the evaluation section of your entry, you want to summarize the program's implementation results. What happened? You can literally cut and paste your objectives here and then update them with the actual results. Explain any areas where you exceeded objectives or even where you fell short with an explanation, the lessons learned. You can still earn a Pinnacle Award even if you didn't reach your stated objectives. There are lessons learned, or there are things that happen. I mean, who would have seen COVID coming, right? So just ensure your results are tied to your stated objectives and demonstrate the program's success. Why should the judges consider your program was a success? What is it about it that is successful, besides the fact that maybe it's, really nicely done? So some examples, going back to those objectives we had earlier, you would just cut and paste this, but then put the actual achievement. So program increased ridership of public transportation in the Clark County metropolitan area by 12%, of workers earning less than $25,000 per year in the first 6 months. So originally our objective was 8%. We reached 12%. So that it shows we reached our goal. So it was successful and we even exceeded it. Campaign increased use of website text-based chatbot by 26% by the end of the third quarter. So again, the goal was 25%, this was 26. And I don't know if this is really a good example, but you're all still awake. So I think we reached our goal.
You're getting verifications that they are still awake, Lisa.
Yay, thank you. All right, so some of the judges' tips on evaluation is they're going to be looking at your objectives and then what you put in evaluation. They are going to jump back and forth. So even if you don't state things word for word exactly the same, just make sure you're hitting those key points. It's okay if you fall short. It really is. Explain why and the lessons learned, because things happen. And also in the public relations field, we're often very optimistic and really think we're going to do great things. And maybe we just didn't have the budget we needed, or things, cost more than we thought, and we just couldn't get the word out there or the project out there the way we wanted. Support your claims. So this is where, similar to research, in the evaluation section for a program, you can attach survey results or call center numbers or that type of stuff as backup. And, explain how, in the summary, you can explain how you measured your results. And then put yourself in the judge's shoes. Remember, they're from out of state. They don't often understand our industry or our state situation. Excuse me. I know Colleen and I both work together for a nuclear industry contractor. And so trying to explain that to somebody that had no concept of what we were doing was sometimes a challenge. So make sure you have information in your summary that helps those judges decide whether or not your program was a success. Anything to add there, Colleen?
So in your entry backup, where you're showing evidence of your results and evaluation, sometimes what I like to do is show as many charts and visuals as possible. So if any of you guys use, I don't know, we use Sprout Social as our social management dashboard, but you might use something like Hootsuite or whatever. If they have metrics and evaluations in chart format, which Sprout does, I just put those charts into the backup, and it makes it so much easier for the judges to just see that as a visual rather than have to read through a lot of data.
Thank you. And other judges' tips on evaluation section of your campaign entry in particular is that you must demonstrate more than a pretty picture, right? You did more than just have an event on a certain date. You had an event that was to achieve certain things and have certain attendance, and you had some type of campaign or long extended marketing campaign to achieve something. So show how you met those stated objectives. The client liked it does not demonstrate success, at least not from a judging perspective. You were trying to achieve something for the client, so did you do that? Now, if part of your objectives personally was to sign that client on to have a successful campaign or tactic so that the client then signed you on for a 2-year contract, then state that in your objectives. But that's probably a little touchy, because what you're trying to do is achieve something for the client, right? Not just make the client happy, trying to help the client's company increase sales or increase the number of people that visit the website or, download their podcast or whatever it is. And then dozens of news clippings alone are just not enough. And then
Lisa,
go ahead.
Sorry, could you go back to the last slide?
Yes.
Okay, now the client liked it. let me just talk about that for a second. If you're doing an internal communications project, and one of your evaluations is, I'm just saying, perhaps it is that senior management thought it met the objectives, or senior management felt it made a difference in a business priority, and you have emails or other evidence, so not just your say so that the client liked it or management felt it advanced business objectives. If you have emails or something like that to that effect, please go ahead and put that in your entry backup, because we all know that when we're doing things for our internal company, our management is obviously always an important audience. So that's kind of what I like to look at as the one exception to that rule.
No, that's an excellent point. And even the client liked it. It's more along the line, if you received an email from the client saying this achieved our goals, right? We're really happy because all of our goals are met. You may not have the research and the survey results or the call center numbers, but you have verification from the client that it reached those types of goals. So.
And Lisa and I have both judged awards entries where it said things like the client liked it. I'm sorry, you know, I'm happy that that occurred, but if that's just based on your statement, I can't really give that any validity. Oh, Lisa, we have a comment. Okay. All right. Okay.
Go back again.
All right. So we're talking about news clips here. In reviews of clips, what about your key message hitting home consistently across all clips? Feedback from social posts to the article itself? Okay, so I think what the question is, in the case of news clips, where we're saying, hey, dozens of news clippings are not enough, but what about if your key message was repeated consistently across all those clips? How do you then measure effectiveness? Like feedback from social posts to the article itself, or anything along those lines?
So that's an excellent question. And Colleen will probably answer it better than me because she's really good at this stuff. But what I would say is news clippings are good to support and to show and call out in your summary that the message was consistent and got out, because we all know as PR professionals, what we want the media to pick up on and communicate is not always where they go. So that is a good goal to put and to prove. But that question hit on some of the proof. The feedback in social media is one of those additional measurable responses that the message was getting across, right? Mm-hmm. So don't just look at it as the news clippings all have the same message, but the feedback is actually where you're showing behavior change and that it got through to the customers and the target audience. And that, so that is a really important metric without even realizing it. I think that shows that you're getting that message through to the right target audience through the feedback. It's almost like a survey result in a way. Colleen, anything to add on that?
Yeah, expound on that. Okay. All right. Here's a test for everybody who is on this presentation. How many days are you allowed to water in the fall season? So starting September 1st through October 31st, how many days are you allowed to water your sprinklers, run your sprinklers? Can't talk. I'll just wait for you guys to put in a number. It's okay. I'm not going to grade you. Carly, give it a shot here.
I love this question. This is a great question. Very close to both Colleen and I's heart.
All right, people are coming in doing really well here. And yes, the correct answer is 3 times a week. Okay. Every season, the Water District puts out a newsletter. Oh, what do we have here? Sorry. Oh, oh, Carly says she's from Arkansas. They get to water all the time. So an unfair question for Carly. All righty. All right. Well, you guys did great. But anyway, my point was going to be we send out a news release every season that says what the number of allowable irrigation days are, right? So if I were to put in my entry that all of the news outlets picked that up, that was our key message, 3 days a week, would it be possible for you to go back and do any follow-up research? Can you do a quick survey of residents? That's what we do. We have the luxury of having consistent across the board research and surveys going on all the time. But that allows us, that's a really handy way of us to prove, did the number of residents who correctly identified 3 days a week go up or not? So I guess I just wanted to use that as an example of, yes, there are times when getting your key message out there does resonate, but can you do something to follow it up to actually measure whether people change their behavior based on that?
And I think nowadays with social media and your followers and being able to do those quick polls, if you have to, I know that's not really scientific, but it's still some type of evaluation that the messaging you got out in the news releases resonated, and you had that awareness well, we just said not just awareness, right? But that people were aware. Now with us, it's also a next step, right? Because just because you're aware that you're supposed to water 3 days a week in the fall doesn't mean you're doing it, right? So for us, we have to prove that we're getting people to actually go out and change their irrigation clock. And by the way, I hear thunder. So if you have your irrigation clock on and it's raining near you, just turn it off today. You don't need it. Let nature do its work. So we're almost near the end and we'll open it up again, but I do want to bring up that I'm technology challenged, and I don't know about the rest of you, but I will say that in judging entries and in last year and having entries uploaded and then judges contacting me over the weekend, because a lot of times people wait to the weekend to judge our entries and vice versa, us judge theirs. If there's a technology glitch, it looks like your PDF uploaded, but then when you click on it, it's a broken link or a broken document or whatever. It happens, I'd say, to at least 10% of our entries. Just make sure you're available. Don't wait to the last minute to upload your entry. That way, hopefully, the team can check them and make sure everything's uploaded okay. Most people wait till the last day to upload everything, and then sometimes if the software goes down, that type of thing. So try to plan ahead for that. And then also be available to PRSA members. I don't know if you're like me, I don't answer a phone number if I don't recognize it, but check the voicemail, because if you get a voicemail that says, hey, the judges are trying to look at your entry, but it didn't upload, can you go in and load it again? Just be prepared for that type of thing. It happens. And another tip I try to do throughout the year, but certainly you want to start doing it now, but I have a file folder like awards stuff. And if I'm working on a project that I'm thinking this might be good to enter in Pinnacle Awards, I start putting, whether it's emails or fax or whatever, and keeping them in a folder, because it's so much easier to pull that together and then put it into your summary. If you've been collecting it all along and you're not 2 days before the deadline trying to pull every bit of information and survey results, and you're like, oh, I don't have that survey, John Doe has it, but he's on vacation, that type of thing. So if you can, just start pulling together information sooner rather than later. Also, have somebody read your survey entry and check it and make sure it makes sense to them. And then good luck. We hope to see you at the awards ceremony.
Well, Colleen, Lisa, just fantastic presentation. I am not Carly, but I'm the one who said, 10 times a week from Arkansas because we have.
Oh, okay. Came under Carly's name. I get it.
Just a couple of things I want to throw out there real quick, and I think it parallels what you were saying. I've judged a lot of entries myself, and a senior practitioner from years and years ago told me when I first started judging, said, it's pretty simple. The cream will rise to the top. A judge can smell a crappy entry a mile away. So you really hit it home with putting in, making sure that it is complete, that you've covered all your points, because if something is missing, they will recognize it in a heartbeat. So very important to show your work. And another shameless plug for APR. If you get your accreditation and then you judge other entries, you get points toward your maintenance of your accreditation. So just something to think about there. And another important thing of judging, whenever you get an opportunity to judge, you learn so much from going through all these entries. And you can you might have smaller categories, or to Lisa's point earlier, she may have so many that takes her a week to get through them all. That's really important. So look at as many different entries from your peers. Ask them for samples. Take a look at what everyone else is doing, and it will really help you grow. That's what it took for me personally before I really kind of got the hang of writing for awards, is really looking and studying the really sharp and fantastic work of others. So
can I tag on to that, Dan? That you brought up a couple great points. I find when I'm judging, it helps just reinforce all of those SMART tactics and the PR process, and to the point that it's just a natural reaction when I go and plan a new project. I don't even have to check anymore. I just naturally do it, but it's a good reminder. And the other thing I'd say is, as a judge, there are times like I'll look at the entry before I look at the entry summary, just to kind of get an idea what they're talking about when I'm reading their summary. And there are times I'll look at the entry and I'm like, that looks really nice. That was well done. And then I start reading the summary, and now, especially since electronic, they're like, you have to answer these questions. It's not the way the judging used to be is like, give a score from 1 to 10 in this section. And you could really be a little more, I don't know, lenient as a judge. But now that everything's electronic, it's like, did it give a budget? Did it state, the target audience? And you're looking at this entry and you're like, oh, it was beautiful, but you didn't list any of these things. I have to give you a 0, right? And so you need to keep that in mind. That's why the entry summary is so important, even when you have nice work. And then also be mindful of the examples you give. Like recently, I will just give an example. It was beautiful work. One of the goals and objectives was to reach a diverse audience, but all of the photographs in there was not somebody from a diverse background. And not, so they didn't really state who their diverse background was. I mean, maybe they did reach that background, but it didn't look like it to me, right? So they're just diverse background. And then they had every image was of somebody that was not from what I would consider diverse background, was a problem as a stated objective. So just keep that in mind when you're writing your objectives.
So important, and that the message about the product being so well crafted, but yet your narrative is not. I had one time that actually angered me. It was fantastic work, and then I read the narrative, and they just missed everything, and I did not hold back. But a good judge will also provide you guidance, not just rip you a new one. They will provide you guidance and say, "Now look, have you thought about? Did you consider? Would you moving forward do this differently? Spend some time doing this." So a good judge is worth their weight in salt we'll provide you good solid feedback. So any other comments or questions before we wrap things up today?
We have a few comments, very nice ones, but no more questions coming through in chat. But if people would like to just verbalize questions, right, Dan, we could take those too if people want to turn on their mics.
Absolutely. Please fire them up. Mallory, Allison, Whitney, anything that still missing out there that wasn't covered?
No, I don't. This is Mallory. I don't have any specific questions. This was super helpful, though. I know, like, reading it on the website is one thing and having those details to look through, but hearing you guys talk about it made it really clear for me, at least. So thank you.
Hi, guys. Yeah, that was very helpful. Just wanted to say thank you. I don't think we have any questions. Eric is here with me. He's in our team, and he'll actually, we work together on the submissions, but he's really the manpower behind them. So, so this was extremely helpful. Just talking through the objectives and the metrics. And Eric mentioned last year there may have been an issue with the payment. I think, as you said, everybody waits until the last minute, and we're not. We're probably on the same line, but I think we tried to submit and we had an issue with the payments. So I'm sure that it's probably, hopefully not going to be an issue this year, but we will try our best not to wait until the last minute.
And you know what, if you get into any payment glitches, I don't want you to worry about that. We can find you. We know where you work. We'll come after you. Don't worry about that. Just get that entry in and we'll call it good and work it out from there.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys. Yeah, this was great.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everybody, and good luck. And
yes.
I love seeing the great work. I mean, our chapter has such wonderful professionals that really do some amazing work.
Well, Lisa and Colleen, we cannot thank you guys enough. Again, very thorough. And I felt after I asked the question if there's anything that wasn't covered, I said I should bite my tongue because it really was. You just really covered all the points. I couldn't see anything else that wasn't out there. Just really fantastic. Anxious to be able to share this with members who cannot attend or could not attend today. We will provide that link afterwards, and everyone get out there, show your work, and enter. And let's thank Lisa and Colleen again for their time today. We're going to close up, so watch for announcements of upcoming events. And thanks everybody for joining us. Have a great day. Stay safe. Get vaccinated.
Thank you, Dan. Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.